Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a video on the ranking of Pele's rarest rookie cards. A video I'm pretty excited to do, and a series I will do for, probably the top 5-10 players, maybe draw it a bit beyond that if people truly desire. Hopefully this is a video that can live on in the algorithm for, years to come, and anyone that's looking in the future for this, I do appreciate you checking it out. If you could, make sure to leave a like, helps me, helps the channel, and a comment as well. Always love reading them, so I would appreciate it. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on into it. So first off, the data for this video was obtained via the GemRate site. This is a website that has a lot of useful analytical data on basically anything graded. For this video in particular, I'll be taking a look at the PSA category of grades, so we'll be looking purely at PSA graded cards for how we rank these. I think that that's important because PSA at this point has, graded the most Pele cards, is seen as the most reputable of any of the graders, and is just sort of the one at the top at this point in time. So it makes sense to use them, but that's how we got the data. Finally, a small disclaimer before we get into it. The first one is that pops are all of January 15th, 2024, so populations will grow over time. There will be more cards submitted, of course, and cards don't really ever leave the pop, so keep that in mind. Higher value issues also tend to be graded at a higher rate. That's number 2, so that's just more of something you'll want to remember throughout this. I don't talk much about value, but I'll sort of mention it here and there, at least, on some of the more prominent cards. But basically that's saying that just because something is lower in pop doesn't necessarily mean that it's lower in terms of total quantity. That's just what we're looking at right now. Then number 3 is the rookie years I use for this video are 57 to 59. Pele's unique in the sense that he only has a couple 57s, and those 57s are extremely rare, so most people consider 58s to be Pele rookie year, and then it extends out beyond that. There's a couple rare 59s, and there's also 59s that were seen as 58s at one point in time, so there's just, a lot of history in the 50s, and so I'm putting all of the items from the 50s in here. One sort of caveat of note is that I will not have team photos or in-action shots. This does eliminate, some nice cards. There's a crying Pele photo that's very desirable within one of those in-action sets. There's just too much in there, and it sort of muddies the waters a lot, so I'm going to keep those out for this video. And finally, number 5 is that there are probably more that exist out there. That's something you always have to be cognizant of in soccer. It's such a wide breadth of where these things can be and how long ago they were distributed and all that jazz. So there's always sort of more work to be done in terms of finding rookies, or at least, adding to information that's already out there on these rookies. So the job's not finished with this video. There is still more work to do, both on your end and on mine, but this is where we're at right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So of course we start with the most abundant, and we'll work towards the most rare. At number 20, we have the Editor Aquarela. This is a 1958 release out of Brazil. It has perforated edges. Typically, you can find grades anywhere from 2 to 5. Usually anything above that's pretty impossible. 1s are also, bountiful. Total population 362. There are blue and black backs, so basically this number on the back, the number 10 right there, and this one is a black back. Sometimes it can be blue, and basically they have similar rarity. There's 200 of one and 160 of the other. I can't remember which is which at this moment in time, but basically point is it's not too big of a deal. Maybe more important would be that a small percent of the blue backs were distributed in 1959, or at least that's sort of the belief. What percent were distributed then? No one really can be certain. It's believed to be pretty small, but nonetheless that should impact, the date of release for these things, or maybe, it's not enough for people to care. I don't know. Either way, in this video, it would have been in here, so blue and black for that reason are still going to be here. I guess that's also something to keep in mind. In this video, I combine different variations. So while there is black and blue backs, and you could split it up, I mean, it's really the same card, so I put them all together. There are also versions of cards in this list where there are variations, but PSA doesn't recognize the variations. So because PSA isn't consistent, I'll be consistent in this go around and just combine them all. Moving on to number 19, we have the Swedish Record. This is a 1958 release for the World Cup. Notably, that's why there's a lot of 58 releases in here you'll come to find. The origin is from Sweden, and the total population is 290. This is found on a magazine cover and is designed to be hand cut from the magazine cover itself. As you can see, they have Garincha and Pele, and then they have a decent small write-up on the back for both of them, and also, a designated line to cut down in the middle, all that jazz. There can be varying widths on the border because it is a magazine cutout. You could have a lot more red. Personally, I like ones with a lot of red. You could also have no red at all, and that's up to each person. It's also notably hand cut, so with the more room on the sides you have, theoretically, the more room you could hand cut it and improve the grade. That's something people don't like to talk about too much, but when something's designed to be hand cut, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're just fixing it to your own desire. Some people do that with regular cards, which is a big no-no, but at least in this scenario, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. So this can be graded with just Pele, so you could cut it out. You could grade the Garincha itself, the Pele itself, have them both on their own if you want. I like it when they're both together just because, I think that they are two of the best Brazilian players ever. I don't think there's any really disputing that, so having them together I think is, pretty cool. Pele also notably doesn't have his name on the front of this. It is on the back, or at least it says Pele, but the full name that they gave him was from Dida, which is a teammate of his on the Brazilian side. So, moving to number 18, we have the Heinerle. This is a 1959 release from Germany. The total population is 191, and it is a cardboard stock, so it's a bit thicker than a lot of other releases that you'll see at the time. Most of these are going to be sticker-based releases. This is also a card that depicts the 1958 World Cup and sort of has a write-up on the back about it and the World Cup final. Early on, this was seen as a pretty key rookie for Pele, but as the date sort of got pushed back a little bit and people didn't care as much about the cardboard style of release, it's been seen as a little bit less significant over time. But the Heinerle set in general is pretty well respected, so that also has something going for it as well. We then have at number 17, the Gazeta Esportiva. So this is a 1958 release out of Brazil. The total population is 184. It is an album cover cutout, so basically there's a vinyl album inside this big green and yellow frame of players that we have, and a team photo as well. You can cut up this album cover and basically grade Pele. You could grade Pele and Garincha here. You can grade Pele, Garincha, and as many people on the left as you want to. I actually I don't think I've ever seen one with like 5 people, but I'd imagine it's possible. You can grade the team photo in the middle. There's a lot of different ways that you can slice and dice this, but it's not necessarily designed to be cut out. It's just an album cover. Unlike the record, I think that this is a little bit different. In my opinion, I don't even know if this is, personally, I wouldn't even include this in this video of Pele rookies if PSA hadn't already graded a ton of them and it had to be talked about. So, in my opinion, I don't really think that this is a rookie. There's some other situations like this of like a matchbook that I took out of this list. So I kept it in here because honestly, so many people like the look of this, and understandably so. These are pretty good photos, but the release style I'm not as sure on. Nonetheless, here it is at 17. At number 16, we have the Alifa Bolaget. This is a 1958 release out of Sweden. It has a total population of 141 and has a cardboard stock. The Alifa tends to grade better on average than most other Pele rookies. The only thing, I could say that's even close to it would be the record from earlier. Most others are going to be relatively low, but you can find, 8s and 9s of this, of course. It's going to be for a pretty penny. As you can see on the bottom, this is the highest selling rookie of Pele's. It's breached the 1 million mark in the past, and in lower grades is going to command at least 5 to 10,000, even at this point in time. So it is a pretty heavy hitter. And I would basically say it's the Pele, at least at this point in time. There's also been the different Peles at other points in time. We'll talk about more as we go. At number 15, we have the Quigel. This is a 1959/60 release from Brazil. It is a total pop of 112. This was sort of the Pele prior to the Alifa being the Pele. As you can see here, PSA labels us and even still labels it as 1958-59. It used to be just 58, and even the 58-59 labeling is still in question, but they continue to label it that way nonetheless. No matter the case, it's still in the rookie sphere, but again, it does matter if something's 58 or 59, and that's what we've seen over time, so this has sort of taken a step down. It is a really nice-looking Pele, though, with him inside of the soccer ball there, and some nice blues and reds around it. It's just a really good-looking sticker, and at this point in time isn't really seen as the go-to Pele, but still is certainly, a desirable Pele within the sphere. At number 14, we have the first of a couple titulares. This is the number 50, or, the horizontal version of Pele within the set. This was released in 1958 out of Brazil, and the total population is currently 88 at PSA. This is more of a normal sticker release, and it's not actually hand-cut despite the PSA labeling here of it being hand-cut. I'm pretty sure now they've come back on that stance and they don't label it as hand-cut anymore, but at one point in time that was something you'd see on the slab. So a little nerve-wracking to think that for a long time that they graded this, they thought it was hand-cut, so you could probably get away with almost any sort of trimming you want to at that point, but nonetheless, now they do not, so that is important to note. Number 13, we have the Monte Gum. This is sort of a playing card Pele, maybe a lesser form of a card, depending on how you want to go about valuing that. As you can see on the back, it's not really dedicated to Pele in any sort of way. There's not much of a write-up. It's just a back of a card. Nonetheless, it has a 1958 release date, and its origin is Dutch/English. There's also a lot of debate about the caricature style. That is up to each person to go ahead and debate amongst themselves. In terms of the variations, the most common is a green back with a blank front. That is a total pop of 57. There are 7 red backs with 4s of clubs, and then there are 3 red backs with aces of clubs. So this is the one that you see on the screen is basically the most rare and highest grade of what you can find within all of that. And so that's a different way you could go about breaking it down if you wanted to go a bit further. At number 12, we have the Edizione Vav. This is a 1958-59 release out of Italy. Total population of 52. Typical grades are going to be 1 to 3. 4 is a pretty exceptional grade on this one. It has a card stock, not the prettiest or most dedicated of backs, just a blank blue back there. And you typically find it very OC, typically leaning more towards the bottom of the card than the top. So that's a notable attribute that you'll find throughout most. Also notably has Vava on the other half of the card. That could be something that, you enjoy or don't like as much depending on your viewpoint of the whole situation. Then at number 11, we have the Titulares. This is the number 86 from the same set as the number 50 we saw earlier. This is a 1958 release out of Brazil with a total population of 47. This is a normal type of sticker release. Now, there are some variations for this Titulares sticker. The variation that you're seeing up on screen is the most common. So this has a star in the top left along with a signature over Pele's face. This is not actually Pele's signature. I'm pretty sure it's Nilton Santos's. Forgive me, but I didn't redo my research before this video on that. I'm just going off memory, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Nonetheless, this is the most common version of the Titulares number 86. The second most common, or the second most rare, however you want to look at it, is the version of the same exact sticker but without the autograph on it. Personally, I think that that's a bit nicer since it's not actually his autograph, and obviously it's just a facsimile autograph. It's not a real one. So that's the middle tier, and then the most rare would be the variation without the autograph or without the star. So it's basically just blank, just has Pele, looks really, really nice, but also very hard to find. And that's sort of the breakdown on these. Personally, one of my favorites in terms of the look of Pele in this. I know sometimes it's a bit colorful for people and they might be turned off by that, but I think it's really beautiful. However, that is at number 11 with a total pop of 47. So as you can see, we're going to get pretty low as we continue to go on here. And we take a hefty jump down now with the Americana at number 10. This is a 1958 release out of Brazil. Pretty iconic colors in my opinion. I love the blue and the yellow and the green, just, very stark contrast. You also have the nice Pele underneath and the pure white. This is a total pop of 18, and it is a normal sticker style of release. This is one, again, where it says hand cut on the PSA slab, but this is not actually one that should have been hand cut, so that is, something of note. Makes for a pretty tricky scenario where, the quality control surely back in the day wasn't that great, so I'm sure, and I do know that there is variations in terms of the width at which you will find these, so, take that into account as well, but these are very, very hard to find. Total pop of 18. I think the last one we saw I think we saw one in 2023. Maybe one a year is about what I've seen throughout my time here. So yeah, from here on out, this is the type of Pele stuff you won't be seeing all too often. Some of these, one or two of them I didn't even know about until making this video, so that just goes to show. At number 9, we have another Americana. This is from 1959, the number 35 from the Balas Figurine Campeonato. This is also originated out of Brazil and has a total population of just 9. There's a typical sticker release style for this sticker as well, and there are different border variations as far as PSA is grading them. I couldn't find a blue and white border, but from what I can tell, on the website, there is a blue border and a blue and white border. So this is the blue border, more common. There are 7 of these, and there are 2 of the blue and white versions. And of course, as we go on here, this is all very subjective. Do keep in mind that rarity is just one of the many things that should factor into your decision when hunting or finding cards and all that jazz. Not to say that, honestly, a lot of us are going to ever find any of these rare Peles, but just throwing it out there in general. And then number 8, we have the Oliveira and Benassi from 1959. This is also originated out of Brazil, and the total population is just 7. Again, a normal sticker style release for this one, and this comes in at just 6, being graded a PSA Authentic through 2. Typically, from Authentic to PSA 2, that's where you find stuck stickers or stickers that were in an album and then pulled out of an album. And so I'm led to believe that only one of these stickers has ever survived without being pasted in an album, which goes to show how, truly difficult this must be to find. And so now we run into the issue of, all of them being so equally rare that we're going to have a 3-way tie for number 5. So the first of the ties comes in with the Cardmaster. This is a 1959 release from Italy. The total population is 6. PSA does grade it currently as 1960, but it's believed to be 5960. Typically, I trust the, higher ups in soccer card collecting more than PSA, because typically, like with most things, the bigger organizations are just going to be slower to change, and PSA is no different. So they're taking their time. They'll get there more than likely. Nonetheless, this is believed to be 5960, a total population of 6. This is a cardboard style release, and as you can tell, it has most of the characteristics of like a typical sort of card that you would expect to see in maybe vintage American collecting. And it can also be found at higher grade for that reason, not necessarily, designed to be stuck. Comes with 2 being graded from PSA 4 and 2 being graded at a PSA 5. There is also 2 graded in a PSA 1 through 2. Generally, still really hard to find, but can be found in relatively higher grade compared to some of the stickers. Along with it, at number 5, we have the 1958 Jose and Aente Balas Centro Gol. This is a 1958 release from Brazil. Its total population comes in at 6. It is a typical sticker style release, and none of the graded examples at PSA indicate to me that they are unstuck. They are PSA 2, PSA 1.5, and 1. Of course, within that, there are varying levels of, eye appeal, so surely some are better than others. But generally speaking, they're all in pretty tough condition, and still a really cool rare Pele to be able to find. Still feel moderately lucky to be able to view it online, because without the internet and all this fun stuff, I wouldn't even be able to know it exists. And then finally, tied with the other 2 at number 5, we have the 1959 Tupinamba Balas Ídolos do Futebol. This is the number 10 version, and it is Pele. Another Brazilian release with this one, and a total population of 6. This does actually have a couple high-grade unstuck copies with 2 PSA 5s. We also then have 2 PSA 2s and 2 PSA 1 to 1.5s. I messed that up. That is supposed to be a 1.5. There you go. Forgive me. Nonetheless, pretty hard to find, and really, really nice looking, pretty unique as well, with the border, and one that definitely sticks out. And then at number 4, we have the Decanena. I have no clue if that's right or not. I have never tried it. I don't know if this is typically how people refer to it as, but it's one that you don't really hear talked about all too much. This is from 1959 and has a pretty unique cut with the diamond shape feature. It does, of course, again, come from 1959, and its origin is Brazil again. The total population for this one is just 3. There are 2 red versions and 1 blue version, so you could, assume maybe that the blue's rarer, but with such a small sample size, it'd be hard to tell, at least from my point of view. As with any part of this video, if you do have more information on this and wish to share with others, I support it fully. I'll heart the comment, thumbs up, all that good stuff. The more the merrier, so I would appreciate it. Then at number 3, but really tied for number 2, is the Oliveira and Benassi from 1957. So this is a common photo you've already seen a couple times. You'll still continue to see of Pele. Some are 1957 releases, some are 58. This is a very, very rare 57. Origin, again, being Brazil, and total population of just 2. The typical sticker style release, of course, and it is found in both a PSA 1 and a PSA 1.5. So both pretty low grades, but, even this 1.5 here, pretty clean back, I will not lie. Great front as well, amazing eye appeal, and really, really cool to be able to share with you guys. Then tied at number 2 with the Oliveira and Benassi, we have the Americana from 1957. This, again, is a release from Brazil, and its total pop is also 2. One of the better looking Peles of the rarer ones, if I do say so myself. I love the blue background and, pretty simple format. Also, apparently you get 2 points if you turn this in, so there's value in that, I think. This is also a sticker release, and it is actually 1 in a PSA 1, and then you also have a 1 in a PSA 1.5. So, just making edits here on the fly. That was not planned, but as you can see on the screen, we have the highest graded copy, and it does look pretty good if I do say so myself. And then number 1, we have the 1958 Americana number 32. This is a Pele where basically you had to, turn in a certain amount of the set or fund yourself in some way to be able to get the Pele. It's more of a trophy Pele or a prize reward sticker for back in the day. So it's really hard to find, and thus why there is only a total population of 1. It is a relatively normal sticker style release, of course, other than it being a reward or redemption, however you want to look at it. Lucky to even be able to find the picture of the graded version, so I was happy to get that. Of course, the only one is the PSA 1 that we're looking right at, and that is the top of the list, or at least, so you would think. In my research in the Vintage Soccer Card Discord, I did see someone post about this. This is a Time release, or at least that's the name of the set as far as I'm aware. It's the Time Pele from 1958, I believe. Presumably its origin's also Brazil, considering that's where most of all this comes from, and the really rare stuff you would expect to be there. And its total population of PSA is currently 0. There very well could be, other Peles like this. I don't have any in mind, but if you do, feel free to share. The more the merrier again. And also do check out the Vintage Soccer Card Discord. That is going to be linked down below. Highly recommend. Good place if you want to learn more about vintage. And also I'd like to shout out the Classic Soccer Cards database, a fun website where there are some master sets. One here is Pele, and this was used just in making sure that I had most of them. It is missing a couple, but for the most part, it has most everything, and you can continue on even past the 50s and go look at all the fun 60s Pele, and it just has an absolute boatload of information and tons of fun stuff to look at. So if you want to do that, I also would highly recommend that to expand your horizons. But yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Hopefully you enjoyed. Of course, if you did, again, make sure to leave a like. Would appreciate it greatly. Any thoughts, make sure to leave them down below in a comment. Would love to read them myself. And if you want some more videos like this as soon as go live, make sure to subscribe. Also, leave any players you want to see down below. Would love to hear. I have some in mind, of course, but wouldn't mind hearing your ideas. And yeah, with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.